Good morning, everyone in the center and here on Zoom. And The Power of Kindness is today's reading by Marianne Byrne. Be kind when the world feels unkind, when voices rise sharply, when patience wears thin. Be kind, not because it is easy, but because it is strength. Their anger is theirs to carry, their bitterness theirs to keep. You are not bound to hold it. You are not bound to mirror it. You are free to choose your own light. It is in these difficult moments that kindness becomes more than a polite gesture. It becomes a conscious choice, an act of courage, and a declaration of inner strength. Choosing to be kind when it is hardest to do so does not mean you are weak or naive. It means you are strong enough not to be shaped by someone else's anger, cruelty, or bitterness. You refuse to let another person drag you into their storm. Instead, you remain steady, holding to the truth that how others act is their responsibility, but how you respond is yours. This is the quiet power of kindness. It builds bridges where walls could be raised. It softens hearts that seem unyielding, and it protects your own spirit from being consumed by negativity. When others bring shadows, let your heart remain a lantern. When others close their hands, let yours stay open, like branches heavy with blossoms, offering a beauty freely to anyone who passes. For kindness offered when it is hardest is the kindness that changes you. And maybe, just maybe, it changes them too. Thank you.
Right, whenever Sharon asks me to speak, I'm always sitting here going, okay, what's important? What do we need to bring up? Hi, Marilyn. To see you. I haven't seen you. Hello. Sorry. Squirrel. Yeah. Anyway, but what I was really thinking about, I saw a quote by Carl Jung, and it said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And I thought about that, and I thought, in my world, to become who I truly am is the courage to be different. And in that, saying yes to spirit. And so many of you, let's face it, for those of you who are sitting here today and those of you on Zoom, to be different, you've gone against the fray. You didn't stay with organized religion. And not that that is bad, because there's a spot for that for everybody on their journey. I say there are billions of people in the world, and there are billions of paths to God. And whatever you're ready for is where you are. But you all have gone against the fray to choose to be spiritualists or just to choose something that's different. And I know myself, I grew up in an Episcopalian church, and I thought at the age of 8, I was on the call for a long time, and I really had to listen to spirit. And for me, sometimes it's a gentle whisper, other times it's the sledgehammer of the universe, and when they really need to get my attention. But even at 8, I was saying, there's got to be more than this. There has so got to be more than this. This is really hard. I don't think I like being here. And by the age of 10, I had gone through early confirmation in the Episcopal Church, thinking I was going to find the mysteries of God through confirmation. And no, I didn't. But by the age of 10 or 11, I remember, and I know I may have told a couple of you this, but I literally got down on my knees in the back of my house, miserable being here. Now, I would never have taken my life. I know I'm on a journey here, but I wasn't happy. And so what I ended up doing was I said, if you're not going to get me out of here, bring me teachers, bring me teachers, bring me teachers. And no angels came down with angelic hosts or playing harp saying, "We got you, Kim." It was a very quiet moment in my world. And as I went on, suddenly the teachers started coming, and it was up to me to recognize the teachers. They came in all different shapes and sizes. They came from all different backgrounds. I studied all different types of religions, Baptist, Buddhist. I went into Judaism, which was a beautiful background in history, but I also didn't feel called to any of these, even the born again Christians. I tried that for a while. And I kept hearing that whisper in the back of my head that God is love. God is love. And every time I would look into a community, I would look for the love of God in my community that I was a part of. And I also came to learn that before we come here, and again, everybody has their own beliefs, but I really do believe that we choose the life that we are in. We've chosen this path, and it is not an easy path. And in fact, I have often heard that it is the master class. We are not in kindergarten. You are a courageous, courageous soul for coming here and taking on the challenges of being here. You are mighty. And so I think the thing is we choose our challenges before we come. And some of us kind of say, okay, I'm done with the challenges. I'm kind of up to here. It's enough. But our spirit calls us to grow through them. And many of us could have stayed in the status quo and followed our journey step by step. We could have stayed in doing what our parents did. But then that restlessness and that dissatisfaction starts to set in. And something calls us to be more than what we know. And in that, I said to myself, do we listen? You know, do we stay safe? Or do we step out and really go within? So I was thinking, because you know me, I'm all about stories and analogies and all of those things, because we learn through stories. So I started thinking about some of my clients. And as you all know, I do past life regressions with QHHT. And the one thing I love about this is not only do you go into different incarnations and you may learn from your past lives and other incarnations, even on other planets, other dimensions, but you also connect with your higher self. And that's where I bring you back in to connect to the you that is really, really you. This, as much as we think about it, is not you. The inner part of you, that part which we know we have body, mind, and soul, that soul is you that knows all your lives, all your incarnations, has all the wisdom there is, and we can tap into that. And that is the beauty of that. And you don't even have to do a past life regression to tap into that when you get quiet within yourself and go inward. And I've looked at some of my clients that have just my teachers, my teachers, my teachers, that I was thinking of a man who came to me, and he actually is a very, very financially and business successful man in his life. He has worked with the CEO of Amazon. He is brilliant, and yet he still was called to do more. There was something in him that said, I need to do more. On the outside, he looked beautifully successful, and he is successful, has a beautiful family, but he still was called to do something deeper. And what he ended up doing was taking on younger people who were starting their own businesses and teaching them and guiding them with what little time he had. He started reaching out and helping the people who had the thirst to learn and grow. And that gave him his fulfillment. He said, with all that I do, and that, yes, making a lot of money, he said, this is where I truly find my fulfillment in helping others. And with that, he started journeying into other areas and modalities. And he said, I didn't even do this till about 4 years ago, and he's well into his 50s. So Spirit called him and kept nudging him, and he kept going and finally saying, I have to do this. And the thing is, there's even another woman I had that was looking at her career, And she also was very successful, but she felt the calling to for healing. And finally, after being nudged and nudged and nudged, she took Reiki classes and started working part time in the area of healing. And she said, who would have thought I had the gift that spirit would work through me for healing? And finally, she left her very corporate job and went on into the area of healing, opening her own business and touching many lives. And I've even had another client who was a veteran, and instead he finally said, I need to do more. I need to do more. And he started learning about meditation. And what he started doing then was teaching other veterans to find peace within themselves after having so many difficult times through war and their own struggles. So I really learned that people can just follow their journey, they can follow their path. Even myself, I went against my own parents with their religious belief. My mother thought that I was going to become a Hare Krishna, and there's nothing wrong with that. When I started working in New Age and looking at different things, and even in my own journey, and most of you who do know me, I started out in theater and I was acting and modeling in New York at a young age, thinking this is what I wanted, and then suddenly hearing that nudge that it's not enough. You're not giving back enough. I loved watching people laugh and cry in the audience, but I realized there was more. And I went on, I worked on Wall Street for a while in importing and exporting, thinking, is this it? No, this isn't it. I need to do something more where I really touch people's lives. And I kept asking Spirit, where do I go? And finally, I ended up as a nurse. And my parents fought me so much, they wouldn't even pay for my education because they felt, really? You want to be a nurse? You know, and my mom used to say, you're just going to sling bedpans? And I'm like, Mom, I think there's a little more to nursing than that. And I ended up working in Columbia Presbyterian in New York. And all of these places brought me to the next point in my journey in my life. And now I'm a scientist and I work in hospice because it just speaks to my soul. And then I came here, and in my journey, I was so blessed to find the spiritualist church, to find like minded souls who were open to other people, reading each other in love and kindness. And I can't tell you when I'm not here on a Sunday, I miss you all so much because you are all so gifted and on this journey. So I think with every step I took, I ended up learning through all my different religions, all the different modalities that I tried. And I've done a lot more that I'm not bringing up, or we could have another 2 hours here. But doing this and then finding Dolores Cannon and watching people's lives sometimes changed a little, sometimes changed a lot, because spirit comes to us with these small nudges. And sometimes it does come with the sledgehammer. So I think of all these things that of people that have made changes and stepped out in their courage because they listened to spirit. I look at the mediums, being a psychic medium, if you were not born to it and felt it as your calling from an early age, doing it as an adult and learning it and taking classes is, I think, one of the most courageous things that you can do, because you always have to face the no's when people just say, nope, that's not my grandma, that's not my grandfather. And it's a challenge. And I think when I look at people like Lynn who come in, and my God, Marilyn, who's been doing this, Gary, so many people who have studied psychic mediumship here. And obviously, we have beautiful teachers such as Sharon and Bill, and so many, and Richard, who were blessed to meet when they're here and teaching. It still takes courage to stand up and be your person and to listen to the call of spirit. So I think the thing is we find that this is the master class. You are here on a journey, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense. And when we watch people we love going through difficult times, and looking at their own bodies not doing what they want their bodies to do so that they can continue in this life, we see the pain in this world. We see how it affects us all because even when we watch someone who is in pain mentally, emotionally, or physically, it isn't easy for us to watch that either because I know how loving and empathetic and connected so many of us are. So I'll just say in your master class, remember you chose this. And yes, you didn't choose the easy lessons. You don't get to coast through here. It isn't a time to coast. It's time to grow, time to learn, and just listen to those inner whispers because those inner whispers are your calling from spirit and your higher self, your oversoul, and the you that's really you will help guide you. So I'm just going to have you all close your eyes for a moment, the very end of this. Take a nice deep breath. I'm just going to invite you to think about where is spirit in your life asking you to be bold? And if you don't have the answer at the moment, keep yourself open to that. Where do you need to be bold? To trust, to choose differently. And even the smallest yes to spirit creates ripples of healing and transformation. You may not always get the answers that you want. You will get the answers you need. And Eckhart Tolle once said, "You are here to enable the divine purpose of this universe to unfold." So may you all have the courage to step out of your comfort zone and to walk with spirit and to claim the destiny our souls chose before we got here. Open your eyes, and I wish you a blessed day. Namaste and Aho. Thank you.
Thank you.